And I hope that you guys could hear me. And I hope you did. But if you guys are having any issues with hearing me, can someone leave a comment um, in the box? The comments are open. So I hope you can hear me. If not, sorry. Um, so I was pre-diabetic, and it was getting that diagnosis that made me realize that I had to change my life, and I was not going to end up someone who had to take insulin, because that was, to me, it was my worst nightmare. Even though I was super unhealthy, I still, I was depressed all the time. I was constantly having panic attacks and dealing with daily anxiety daily. Again, it wasn't until I heard pre-diabetic, and then I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to be going towards diabetes. I'm going to be taking insulin every day. Um, there's no way that I am ever going to accept that. So I started looking online, and I found Mark's Daily Apple's website, and the diet connected with me, especially because I was concerned about insulin resistance. And I slowly um, eased myself onto the diet, and within 6 months, I had lost 65 pounds. It was the first time I was actually happy. It was the first time I connected how powerful food was to your health. And it changed my life. It saved my life. And my husband actually jumped on board, and um, he had suffered pretty severely from GERD, to the point that he was getting sick every single day, and not just. I had assumed it was just at night, but it was actually during the day too. Um, and he started. I got him just to transition by having one meal, dinner, as a grain-free paleo meal. He could eat whatever he wanted during the day, but at night he he eliminated grains, and he noticed he was sleeping better. He noticed he didn't have acid reflux. And I mean, I would say he's more gluten free than paleo or primal, but he's 90% better. If he starts cheating, that's when stuff starts to go downhill. So let's talk about the three most important tips to transitioning, or at least based on what I've seen just by talking to people and working with people, the three most important tips to transitioning to the paleo diet. First, don't let perfect be the enemy of good. I think that when a lot of people hear about paleo, it's when they hear about diets such as Whole30 or 21 Day Sugar Detox, where, I mean, the 21 Day Sugar Detox actually has levels. So it kind of eases you onto this lifestyle. But most people do not see those diets as permanent lifestyles. Most people think, if you know someone, or if you've tried the Whole30 or the 21 Day Sugar Detox, it's you're going to, for this specific time period, cut out, you know, quote unquote cheats, paleo cheats, and focus on real food. Um, but it's not, you're counting down. You're counting down to those 30 days are over. You're counting down till those 21 days are over. You're doing it before a big holiday, when you know you're going to enjoy some of the comfort food that are associated with it. I think that, again, don't let perfect, this isn't grass fed, this isn't, I eat dairy, I'm not perfect, paleo. Everyone is on a specific journey. Everyone's bodies are so different and unique. And instead of fighting it, you should celebrate it. And remember, it's the excuse me, it's the overall picture, not the daily picture, that you should be focusing on. So if your family is just transitioning to this diet, I would first just get out the junk. Get out the junk food. Um, there are so many harmful chemicals in processed foods. that have been shown to be addictive, that it's that should tell you right there how hard it is for people to eliminate it, especially if you're trying to get your family on board. Their taste buds are set to those processed foods. That real food does not taste as good as processed foods. So slowly get out the junk. I know that when people are told to change their lives, they want to do it immediately. But if you're wanting to make this a lifestyle, one that all of your family members will take part in, just slowly get out the junk foods and the processed foods. And, even if that's okay, I've gotten out, we're going to get rid of processed, like candy and, soda, stuff like that. Maybe it's just one thing a week. Slowly transition to it, and definitely 80/20. If your family knows that they're still, even though they're eating healthier, they're gonna be able to have your absolute favorite pizza, like the pizza or the dish that your family cannot live without. They know that that's still part of their lifestyle for a while. It's going to be much easier to get them to get on board than to say, no, this is how we're going to eat. Because again, you're working with taste buds that are conditioned to specific chemicals and processed foods if that's where you're starting out from. So you have to go slow and steady. And if you even think about your own journey, I don't know, I don't know where everyone is on this call. I'm assuming everyone's newbies. But think about before you even discovered paleo and real food and primal. If someone had said to you that in 1 year or 2 years, however long ago it was, 6 months, that you would not eat grains, you probably would have laughed at them and called them crazy. I know I would have done that. So you have to remember that everyone is in their specific mindset, and just slow and steady. Don't be perfect. Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. And the other thing is cook with your family, cook with your kids. If you're making, okay, we all know that bees love honey more than they like vinegar. So if your kids are used to cereal, I have that great coconut cinnamon cereal recipe where they can make it. You can add more sugar if that's where they're at with their palate. I think it's pretty sweet. But have them help you in the kitchen, have them participate in their food so that it's not you fighting your family to help. I know that's kind of different with husbands, which is why I said, with my husband, it was definitely slow and steady. It was one meal a day was paleo, just to see how he, so he could compare how he felt. So I got a lot of questions, and if you guys have any questions, I have the Q&A open, so go ahead and ask. I'll answer them at the end. I get a ton of questions on how to save money. I would say like 5 or 6 people asked how to save money on the paleo diet. So I have never been someone to mince words that the paleo diet is expensive, because, almond flour, coconut flour, butter, coconut oil, all that stuff, it adds up. And so I really, really suggest, if it's not in your budget, focus on, eating the leanest cut of meat that you can, buy the leanest cut, and then add a high quality fat, add coconut oil. I don't know if you have like a Costco membership. They have, it's Nativa, 78 ounces, and I think it's $23. I have a Costco post that has the exact price. I go to Grocery Outlet all the time. I was just there, and I found some really, really good butter that is normally $6 or $7 at my natural food store. That was $1.99. And I bought a ton. I stocked up. You can freeze butter. Amazon is also great for really good deals. But you have to start shopping and then I don't know if you have Bar Mart where you're at. I've noticed that, like, cause I use a lot of tapioca flour. If you have looked at my recipes, their tapioca flour is super cheap there. Um, just be open to where you're searching. I've also shopped at the kind of the grocery stores that sell like dented cans, um, like the super bargain discount grocery stores. And sometimes you can find some really cool items in there that your family can eat. I'm kind of skipping around, but eat in season. You don't want to be eating berries in the winter. Um, and eat in season for your region, obviously. Um, Frozen vegetables are a great, great, great deal. I know that I will go to Costco and get I think it's a 5 pound bag of green beans, and it's $6, and that lasts a month in our house. So frozen veggies, and that's organic veggies. So, but you can go to, if you can't afford organic, don't focus on organic. What you should be focusing on is eating real food. You know, I know that there are benefits to eating organic, obviously less chemicals. Um, Grass-fed meat tastes like deliciousness to me. um, so taste is often better. But again, buy what you can afford. That's a million times better than eating processed foods and eating um, grains. So if you can't eat organic, if you can't eat meat, right on. I mentioned in my podcast that when I became a stay-at-home mom, we were pretty broke. We were poor, and I discovered that I could get food stamps, and I got food stamps, and it was a huge shift in mindset for me um, to go from being able to buy whatever I wanted, like we were spending ridiculous amounts of money on food, to trying to figure out how was I going to do this, and wrapping my mind around the whole mommy guilt thing of, oh, I'm not feeding my son the best foods. And I was like, forget this. I'm not going to feel shame. I'm not going to base my decision on shame. I'm going to base my decision on joy and feed my family what I can feed them. So let's see what else. Oh, okay. So questions. I have, I think, 5 questions in here. So the first question is, I'm new to the paleo diet and I'm really struggling as my husband is not following me along and he tries to sabotage me all the time. So the first thing I'm going to say is that first, really look and see if your husband is sabotaging you. It's not always sabotage. Um, I mean, if he's buying donuts because he likes to eat donuts and they're in the house and you consider that sabotage, that's not sabotage. That's just him continuing his life as it has been. I know it's hard to resist that stuff. You know, I have a really hard time resisting things when they're in the house. But you have to look back and you have to focus on, why are you doing paleo? If it's really bad, you can like his behavior. You can perhaps look at finding, I don't know if you were told to go paleo by a doctor or by some sort of authority figure. If you would ask if he would be open to talking to that doctor, if that's how you came to the paleo lifestyle, just so that he understands that you're really, really trying to transform your health and you're not just on some fad diet. Um, but again, focus on why you're doing this. And it's hard. Like, it's super hard when, say, if I buy my son chips and I always end up having a few, but that's better than me eating the whole bag. And I guess you have to compare. What would you do before if there were donuts in the house? Would you eat all of them like I would? Or would you, or now are you, now are you just having one? Even if that's not perfect, you're moving towards your goal. But really focus on why you're doing this. When I made this switch, it was because I absolutely refused to be diabetic. I refused. And along the way, I lost weight. I helped, my mental health is better. And those are bonuses to me. Those were just bonuses. But the thought of taking insulin every day drove me to not do it. And again, focus on your health and don't imagine everything is sabotage. You know, unless he's like actively trying to shove food down your mouth or saying, how can you not eat this? It's delicious. Sometimes sabotage is based on fear, the other person's fear that either they're not educated and they don't understand the principles of the diet and they're afraid that you are doing something harmful to yourself or that you're going to change. I mean, change is part of a life, but so that's something that you should ask. Are you afraid that this is unhealthy? Are you afraid that I'm going to drastically change for some reason? I mean, open communication and just be open. I know it's hard when you feel like someone is trying to push you off of something, but they're doing it for a reason, and it's good to talk and at least open up that dialogue. And then if it's the support thing, I know a lot of people come to this diet and they really, really want someone to support them, especially their partners or their children, and they're not getting it. There's so many groups that you can join where you can get that support. Forums. I know Marcus Daily Apple has a really active forum. There's groups on Facebook that you can join. I'm sure that if your goal is weight loss, you can go to one of the Fitness Pal, etc. type sites and find some people there who are transitioning to this diet and who need the support to stay the path. And again, like when I think of life, when I think of this journey, I think of the sum rather than the small parts. Because sometimes I'm going to totally, go off the rails. And I've done this, had popcorn, because, oh my goodness, buttery popcorn. But when I think about how often that happens, it's like once or twice a year. And am I going to focus on that, or am I focus on the fact that for a year I ate really healthy, I ate really clean, and I had a good year. So let's see. I have a ton of windows, and I'm like, which window am I at? Here I am. Okay. I always love to talk about poo. I think that's the way it goes when you have a kid. You talk about poo all the time. So kind of an awkward question. Since starting paleo 9 days ago, I'm not having many BMs. Is there something I can take to facilitate this? Should I take a probiotic? So one of the things you need to make sure that you're doing is that you're drinking more water. And I don't mean like there's a level, I think, at least, what is it, like 2 cups a day of water. Also, I don't know if you've tried this yet, having coconut oil, just coconut oil in your coffee or tea, because more fat will definitely get something started if you're running into that. And it never hurts to eat more probiotics. Never. I would definitely look at eating more fermented foods, just because you're also getting some roughage there. And make sure you're eating enough vegetables. I know that a lot of people will think, oh, paleo is just meat. I love meat. I could just eat meat day after day. But I know I have to eat broccoli and asparagus and Brussels sprouts and sweet potato and all that to make sure that you're eliminating properly. So definitely just make sure you're drinking enough water, eating enough fat, and then eating enough vegetables. And that should help you poo. So let's go to this one. So I've been attempting to complete a 21-day detox. I've tried twice, but get off track, craving sweets. Bitter foods are a really inexpensive, cheap way to help curb the sweet tooth. Like if I'm trying to, reduce the sugar in my diet, I've got like that, when you're like, oh, I need to eat chocolate or I'm going to kill somebody. That type of question, that type of thing, then I'll have like lemon. Seriously, just take a teaspoon of lemon, and most of the time that helps like immediately. Apple cider vinegar and some water would totally help too. Um, but then you can also look at, and I don't have the exact quantities. I would look at the product that you buy. But there's two. One's actually a herb. One is an amino acid. L-glutamine is an amino acid, and that really helps curb like that sweet tooth. And also Jemima, which is an herb, is another one that you can take to help reduce that sweet tooth. I had another reader ask a question. Basically, it's in my notes here. I'm diabetic and trying very hard to lose weight, about 50 pounds, and would like some clues as to what foods to eat and help me when I have cravings for sweets and chocolate. So I would again look at these 3 herbs and honestly make some hot chocolate. Make it with some raw cocoa powder, coconut milk, and stevia. And you'll be pretty stoked with that. The stevia I recommend is Protocol Stevia. And that stuff is great. I put 3 drops in my herbal coffee in the morning, and it's really sweet, or it gives me that sweet taste that I want. So you can get creative. If you want chocolate, you can make chocolate. You could buy 100% chocolate and play around with it, because you can get those in the grocery section, the baking bars. Play around with it and add some stevia to it, and make some chocolate that you can eat. Food. I know that when you're trying to lose weight, you kind of think of food as punishment, but food can be a total joy, and you can get creative in the kitchen and make it work for you. And so, also, I wanted to suggest that you look at adding some more cinnamon to your diet. Cinnamon is really great for those. I eat it every day. Those who have, PCOS, insulin issues, just some cinnamon powder in your coffee is a great way to start the day. And this question. So, how does my body make serotonin if I am not eating grains? So, grains actually have nothing to do with the production of serotonin. Serotonin can only be made after sweet or starchy carbs are eaten. Basically, tryptophan, which is the building block of serotonin, can only get into the brain after sweet or starchy carbs are eaten. I'm kind of on a lower carb diet at the moment, but I have a really hard time sleeping. So I eat my carbs before bed so that I will go to sleep. And I'm not talking about I'm a banana, like a teaspoon of honey, half a banana, sweet potato, like healthy carbs like that are what I'm talking about. Because basically, yeah, you can't. If you go lower carb, you know what I'm talking about, where you're just like wide awake, like wired. But if you eat some carbs, you will sleep like a rock. So that is that one. I've got more questions coming in. So, any advice on getting family friends to at least try paleo? I know that it's really hard. Like my parents would not even consider this lifestyle until my book came out. And I've been on this diet for 4 years, 5 years. So you can't push people onto this diet. What I would recommend is having them over, making a delicious meal. You don't have to make honestly, you can make meatloaf that's paleo, you can make sides that are paleo, and then give them bread. I think people are really excited if they just have bread that they can eat. Because there's a lot of misconception about what is paleo. My mother-in-law is so funny. She was over and she's been showing everyone the book, and she's like, people keep asking me what I eat at your house, and I'm just like, tell them we eat raw meat, and we eat weird stuff. Like, it's so bizarre to me. It's like we're just eating real food. I'm just cooking everything and delicious fat like butter or coconut oil, and we have, I mean, I don't know anyone, paleo or non-paleo, who likes meat, who doesn't like a really good steak or doesn't like bacon. So really, the way to get them to try it is to invite them over to eat, or if you go over, if they don't live near you, you go over, cook for them, make them like paleo cookies, maybe add a little bit more sugar in it because the sugar ratio is off. Like, what I think is really sweet, my mother-in-law thinks is bitter. So you might need to add more honey or maple syrup or coconut sugar to it so that they think it's yummy. Um, but again, you don't attract bees with vinegar, you attract them with honey. And anytime you push this onto people, you're just making them pull away from it. People, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And you have to let them kind of come to it, whether it be, their favorite celebrities paleo, and you're like, oh, look, your favorite celebrities paleo. Or you send them cookies. I don't know anyone who doesn't like to get cookies in the mail. Or, um, but that's what I would do. Don't push. I know you want them to try it. Lead by example. It wasn't until I totally changed my life, I lost the weight. I'm not someone who, my husband has seen me try to lose weight, try to diet, and this worked. And that was when he saw that transformation. He was like, okay, if she can do it, if she can do it, I can do it. So let's see. And I've got a bunch of questions coming in on this other thing. So I'll answer those in a minute because this is not almost over. So I don't know why you showed up here today. Again, I don't know if everyone is a newbie, you weren't sure how to get your family on board. But again, you really, really, really want to. I know that there's a certain stigma, at least from my perspective, on the comfort foods that are paleo. But I think it's a complete and total mistake to assume that people are going to make a change in their lifestyle. Everyone is going to, I mean, some people are hardcore. Some people are like, yeah, I'm only going to eat meat and vegetables for the rest of my life. But most people, especially people with kids, um, they're not going to come on board unless they know they can, again, enjoy those comfort foods that are super important, that, in life, and that they've grown to love growing up. So I think it's really important, again, if you're really trying to transition your family, ignore if you're getting static from people who are like, oh, paleo's eating grass-fed meat and having bulletproof coffee and eating organic vegetables and doing CrossFit. If you're getting static from those people, that's their life. That's their perspective. It's unfortunate that they have to um, put their ideology on you, and that kind of irritates me. But and I do enjoy most of those things. I don't do CrossFit, but I do like all the other stuff that they like. But I know as a mom, as someone who at one time, who couldn't afford anything, couldn't afford grass fed anything. I know how hard it is, and I know how hard it is to transition your family. And I did want to just do a little bonus for you guys that showed up or who are going to watch this webinar over the next week. Specifically, if you need that extra help. I know that you all know that I have a book, Paleo Eats. I'm very proud of her. And she is the perfect, when I created the book, it was for the people that needed to transition and for the people who wanted the comfort food that they thought they would have to give up on the diet. And so to me, I really focused on just, again, comfort food, love, joy in food, teaching people how to use these weird flours that they need to use on the diet. And I'm just proud of all the feedback and the reviews that I've gotten from her. I put a lot of love into that book. And so, for anyone who doesn't have the book, if you buy the book on Amazon and you just email me your receipt like by Friday, I'll give you this bonus. I created a course called Bite Size Paleo, and it's how to go paleo in steps. Ugh, that was easy to say. How to go paleo in 6 steps, and it's an e-course, and it comes with, again, it's just 6 steps. It's an email course, so 6 classes on what to remove, how to get your family on board. It has a meal plan, and I will put you in that for free. And so I'm going to go ahead and answer some questions. I'm actually going to have to go into a different window. So, one of the questions that I got is how important are condiments? And I'll go ahead and take myself off of this so you can see me. Hi! I'm the one who's been talking the whole time. You're going to see me looking over to the side because I'm reading questions that people have put in here. And let me see if any people put questions in the side. Right. Thanks, Raj. Yep. You cannot change people's, but Raj from the Primal Desire is saying beliefs around foods are like religious beliefs. So you cannot push it on people who are interested in trying. And that's very, very true. You just can't. You have to, if you can, you got to look at your journey. Where if I don't know where you came from, but I know if someone had told me a year before I went paleo that I would not be eating grains again, I would have thought they were crazy. And if they had said, but this is the best diet on earth, you're going to feel amazing times better, I still would have been like, this person's nuts. I'm never giving up my bread. And, but my journey put me on this path, and it's a complete blessing. And I'm thankful that it did happen. And I know you want it for your family members. I want it for my mom, who was pre-diabetic. But it wasn't until I put out my book that she tried it. And so I guess you guys should put out books. So I'm going to read some more questions here to finish up our hour. So how important are condiments like soy sauce versus using coconut aminos? I want to eat pretty cleanly, but not sure about getting every kind of condiment right. If it's coconut aminos is really good. I don't cook a lot with it. I'm trying to think of, like, I make a pho recipe. What else? I have a teriyaki sauce recipe that I make, but I don't use it all the time. So I guess it depends on if you are someone who really loves Asian cuisine and you're worried about it. You can also go to a wheat-free tamari if you're not 100% there yet. I think they're about the same price though. I just got some from Natural Grocers, and it was $5, and I'm pretty sure wheat-free tamari is about the same price. So if you live somewhere like where you can't get that, then I would at least look at a wheat-free tamari. One of the foods I try never to eat is soy. But there's that. What else? Where do you buy grain-fed beef? What about pork? And I don't know if you meant grass-fed beef, but because most conventional beef is going to be grain-fed. So where do you find it? There's eatwild.com. What else? Eat Wild is a great place to look. Look on Craigslist. I mean, maybe because I live in Portland, there's tons of farmers who do advertise on there, but look on Craigslist. I found the most amazing grass-fed beef farmer on Craigslist, and his hamburger was $2.50 a pound, and his everything else was $5 a pound. I couldn't believe the price. So look on Craigslist. Um, you can go online, like places like US Wellness Meats. Um, your natural store will carry it. Um, I think more and more, even bigger box stores like Target might have some, like some grass fed beef. So look there. I know Target has some really good. My co podcast buddy, Liz from Paleo on a Budget, loves Target. There's like the red card where you can get 5% back, and there's coupons. So I think even Target carries that. I know they carry Applegate. Um, let's see. Next, I'm looking for easy meals to work with. Um, I'm a straight up easy to cook person. I don't like to spend a ton of time cooking. And so I just make like meatloaf. Um, Meatloaf is super easy. Like anything I can throw in my food processor, I will make. So meatloaf, hamburgers, spaghetti, stir fries, I hot dogs and coleslaw. Like seriously, we eat that a lot during the summer because I it's so hot. I just don't cook. It doesn't have to be elaborate. It can be just what you were eating before, but like instead of having making pasta, you do zucchini noodles with spaghetti. Um, you can do lettuce wrap burgers. Um, you don't need flour in meatloaf at all. I don't ever, I mean, obviously I don't use it, but you don't need flour in that. You could do meatballs. I mean, and those are all because beef is a really cheap cut. So if you're trying to save money, ground beef is a really cheap cut. If you're trying to save money, that's where it's at. Um, let's see. I have been on the paleo diet for 3 months and not lost any weight. Any idea why? Um, it might be. I think a lot of people don't realize that. Like I was a size 28 when I started this diet, so I was eating a lot of food, and calories do matter on the paleo diet. I don't know. I mean, that question. I'm assuming you're relatively healthy. Like you don't have thyroid issues, you don't have adrenal issues. I would look at if you're are you eating too many nuts? Are you eating too many paleo treats? Are you um, it's if you're healthy, I would look at your calories. I'm not telling you to go low calorie at all. I don't eat low calorie. Um, but look at your calories. Look at what you're eating. Might be you're not, if you're like, you don't say if you're working on a ton. If you're working on a ton and you're eating too low calories, that will stop it. Are you getting enough sleep? Sleep is so important for weight loss. Are you stressed out? Stress stops weight loss. So there's a lot of factors in that. I'm just kind of throwing out what I know right now. Let's see. More questions. Um, if you For those of you who are saying you can't get on here, I will be sending this out to my list again. Um, just make sure you're on my list because I will. This will be up. I'll leave this up for the week, and so that should totally give you enough time to watch it. Let's see. Trying to follow paleo to decrease arthritic and other health issues. I think that eliminating. I've one of the things I've always wanted is my mother-in-law to do it because she has so much inflammation. And that's to me, that's the biggest benefit of the paleo diet of eliminating grains is that it does help reduce inflammation. You might simply be able to go paleo and remove grains and dairy, legumes, and see an immediate response. If that's not working, you might have to go towards an AIP diet where you eliminate nuts and seeds, um, dairy's already off there. I'm trying to think what else you have to. No chocolate, but you can eat carob. You might have to go towards that. I would start again, transition to paleo. Looks like there's more comments on here I didn't see. Um, try paleo first. see how you feel. Again, you're an individual. What works for me might not work for you. So transition to that and then see how you feel. But I know that just eliminating grains is going to help. Let me see. Let me go over here. Should we stay away from all sugars like honey, coconut sugar, maple syrup, and syrup in order to lose weight? Thanks. I definitely think that if you're trying to lose weight, sugar is not really going to help you. Um, if you have a hard time thinking you're in life, okay, this is totally off topic, but not off topic. But in life, we do what feels good. Always. We do what feels good. So if you're struggling, you're like, if you're coming from the mentality of punishment versus joy when when you're on your health journey, it's going to be a million times harder. So if you're like, I really need candy, I really, really, really need candy, maybe try stevia. First, try stevia. See if that helps you. Um, if you're like, I really want some coconut sugar, because there's so much debate about coconut sugar being low glycemic and good for diabetics. I'm not 100% on that. I don't know enough, but personally, I'm not 100% on it. But sugar doesn't help. I would do a lower carb paleo diet. See how you feel. If you feel awful and you're gaining weight, some people gain weight on low carb. It's not for you. You have to kind of figure out your particular puzzle. So, but it doesn't help. Let's see what else. Let me select this. Okay, I come from a very large family, so wheat was a large part of the recipes I learned growing up. I like cooking from scratch, so I don't have a problem creating my own, but the problems I'm having is the proper conversions of all flour. Yes, that's actually something that I cover in my book, is because I have a really big baking section. Um, okay, so there is no one-to-one. Oh, let me see. I'm gonna pull up that's gonna take too long. I do have a post on my blog called The Guide to Flowers. I'm going to go ahead and put the link in here. You're going to have to really play with it. It's kind of a learning. I'm sure you're discovering it's a learning experience, Amanda. I don't know if I can answer this on here. I don't know where to answer this. Answer questions. There we go. That's where I do it. I know I don't know how to do this. Amanda, I'm going to put it in I don't know where you're watching. I'm going to put it in this page so you can see it. I don't know where it is. I don't see my comment. But it's called The Guide to Paleo Flowers. And I kind of break down some of my knowledge about using flowers in, I don't know, conventional recipes. I hate to say sad recipes since that's what it's called, but wheat-based recipes. I have a lot more info in my book about it. Let me see. Are you on my YouTube? Nope. Okay. But just thinking of like meat-based things, like if you're thinking about baked goods, that's a whole. You don't really say. You just say cooking. If you're thinking of like baked goods, that's a complete learning experience. I would first go online, see if you can find a paleo version of what you're trying to do, and use that to gauge what flours you need to use, what amounts you need to use. And then also check out the Guide to Paleo Flowers. And in my book, Paleo Eats, there's a section in the back where I break down my own personal conversions that I use when I'm like baking, because that's what I love to do. I love to bake. But I hope that helps. I would start with that first. Okay. Are there any more questions? Let me take one more look through my type form to make sure there's nothing else that needs to be answered. Okay, I think that is it then. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I hope that what I shared today helped. And if it does, I'd totally be open to doing these like once a month where I just answer a bunch of questions for you and help you on your journey. So thanks again for coming and have a wonderful week and a beautiful day. If I could find my mouse, there it is.